If you want to join us on the phone-in, you're more than welcome. The lines are now open. Now, Alice is taking your calls, and the number, as always, is Preston 561,000. Preston 561,000 for the phone-in. Tomorrow at 1:30, I'm going to be at the YTS group, having chats with them at Ladywell House in Preston. It's a private do, I presume, so members of the public, you are not invited. I'm just telling you where I'm going to be. But if you do want to meet the ugly mug and say hello to yours truly, then at 2 o'clock on Saturday, this coming Saturday, I'm going to be at VHS Video, Rufford Road in Southport. Somebody rang in today, said there's no such place. It's probably Crossons. Well, I always thought Crossons was part of Southport. But anyway, it's Crossons or Southport, and it's Rufford Road. I shall be there, number 131 if you're interested. I shall be there at 2 o'clock-ish on Saturday for an hour or so. So why don't you come along and say hello. And then the Argue with Allan bit, we're doing that on Sunday the 26th of January at Rumours in Blackpool. But you've got to be a member to attend that, and the only way you can become a member is by paying your money and by being a local resident. You've got to be from Blackpool. They don't allow any Tom, Dick or even Harry in that place. The other place you can come and see yours truly do the Argue with Allan bit in the not-too-distant future is on the 16th of February, a Saturday at King George's Hall. That'll cost you £3.50. There's a licensed bar and incognito in support, and it should be a grand night. Tickets are on sale now. We progress with the programme. Allan Beswick. All the commercials out the way. How do, Paul? Well, we've not started off too well tonight, have we? How do, Paul?
Hello?
Ah, we've got you. Hello.
Yeah. I'd like to talk about these premonitions that people have. Yeah?
Go ahead.
Alan?
Yes,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I think I can have them, because I'm having premonitions about things that are going to happen in the future. And I'm concerned...
That's the only thing you can have premonitions about, things that are going to happen in the future.
Yeah. Well, I'm concerned about them, and I wondered if you could put me, tell me who I could get in touch with to see about them. Because I think they're real myself,
Why do you think they're real?
Well, they relate to...
Have any of them come true so far?
Well, no, not as yet, because...
Well, when they do, then start worrying. Till then, I suggest you just ignore it. Ta-ra. How do, Alan?
Hello,
Too young. How do, Peter?
yeah, hello, it's Superman here. As you know, yesterday I was arrested, and I'm in court on Friday, I just wondered what you thought I should plead.
Guilty, but insanity. How do, Paul?
How do, Alan? I wrote to you a few weeks ago. And I asked you for your photograph and all that. I got that, thanks very much, but the letter said that I would enclose a 90 Squadron badge, and it wasn't in there. Do you remember?
Yes.
I'll pop up on Saturday and give it to you in Southport, if that's alright.
Please yourself.
If your house caught fire, and you managed to drag one of your cats out, and the other one was left in there, would you have fried egg and smoky bacon?
That rather depends, really, on whether I was hungry.
True.
Ta-ra.
Good night.
How do, Rodney?
I'm here, my friends, to read to you a poem placed upon my loo. It reads, Mr. Beswick, my good friend, that you're going mentally round the bend. Allan Beswick is not so fat. This is a fact we have to face at. He wriggles and squirms all day long, too far away and make a pong. How do you like that, Alan?
Rather vulgar, actually.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Don't be sorry. Be less vulgar. How do, Joan? Oh, Joe, not Joan. Hello, Joe. What do you know?
Let's all have some fun. Don't forget to buy tonight, and don't forget to come to the last party of go.
The Ram's Head in Salter.
How do, Suki?
Hello, Mr. Beswick. The last couple of days you've been saying that dogs are stupid.
This is true.
Yes, and you've been saying that they're dirty as well.
This is also true.
And you've been saying that cats are very intelligent.
This is true. Thank you for agreeing. How do, Jonathan?
Hello, Alan, I've got a joke for you.
Tough. How do, Neil?
Hello, Alan. My mate rang the other night.
I don't give a damn that your mate rang. If you've got something to say, say it.
Right, I think we should spend more money on sports.
Who should spend more money on sport?
The government. And
Why?
Because it sort of stands for our nation, you know.
I don't give a toss whether it stands for our nation or not. Why should this government use my tax on sport when I choose not to spend any of my money on sport?
Because it represents the nation.
I don't give a damn who it represents. What's it worth?
What's it worth? What do you mean?
What's it worth? It represents the nation. What at? We keep getting stuffed by everybody. Is that what we want? To spend a fortune on coming second at best?
No, but if we improve, you know...
We're not going to improve. You can throw money at people all day. They won't get any faster, quicker or more skillful. They'll just get richer.
Oh.
Thank you very much. You seem to have run out of things to say, so go away and think. Hello, Andrew.
Hello? Can you talk about what you want?
I can, yes.
I'll talk about schools then. Right?
Well, let's hear it.
I reckon you should close them down.
Well, they very nearly have done.
Yeah?
Good. How do Peter?
Good evening, Alan. How are you this evening? Well,
Yep.
you were talking to a chap last night about depression and the fact that you consider walking to be better than pills. Couldn't agree more with you. Found out last year with depression that get out in the hills with the boots on, fresh air, and you feel $1 million afterwards. You don't need pills.
That's it.
That's it, son.
No punchline.
Not this evening.
I give up. I'm just sitting there. My little wheels are going round in my head thinking, what's the punchline on that? I've got to get to the damn thing before him. There isn't one. Rats.
There isn't one at all. Like a green wholehearted
I suppose that is the punchline. But there isn't one. Thank you very much. I've been at again.
I shall see you on Saturday.
Cheers. Ta-ra.
Cheers, mate. Ta-ra.
How do to Mike?
Hiya, I'd like to talk about this thing that happened to me the other night. If I may.
You may.
Well, I was walking down this street, it was quite dark at the time, and I turned round and I saw this fella watching us, right? So...
Watching us?
Well, watching me.
Watching you? There was only one of you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I was just walking down the street and I looked round, and then the next moment he was gone. Then I was...
Well, it's probably because he saw you. You probably frightened the living daylights out of him.
No, then I just went round this corner, and he grabbed us by the arm, and he led me up...
I thought you said he was gone.
Hey?
I thought you said he was gone.
He did, but he appeared in front of us, like...
From behind?
Hey, no, from in front.
And we're back to us again. There's still only you.
He'd gone round the block, like...
Gone round the block?
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, he was quick. Who was it? Sebastian Coe?
I don't know.
You don't know? You should have asked him. How do Fiona?
Hello, Alan.
Hello, Fiona.
I wrote you a letter last
Inviting me to your party.
Yeah, that's it.
Smart. I wrote you a letter back saying, before you send out invitations to parties, it's always a good idea to put what date the party is.
Does it not put the date on?
No, you told me, don't tell me now, but you told me it was at 5:30.
Yeah.
But you didn't tell me what day.
Oh, I see.
You've got a letter coming back to you today,
Yeah,
Fiona.
it's this Friday, actually.
It's this Friday?
Yeah.
Let me think. I honestly don't know at the moment. I'm doing something on Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I don't know what. But as soon as I know, I'll be able to answer you. All right?
Third brain I am. Thanks anyway, Alan.
Anyway, next time you're inviting me,
Yeah.
allow me to say to you, give me a lot more notice.
Right,
Because
thank you.
I usually do, because of the time you're having it, 5:30.
Yeah.
That's a fairly busy time for me. I know it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a busy time, but I have to watch all the newses then. I have to
Yeah.
watch the ITV news, and then the BBC news, and then North West, and I have to video that dreadful thing that ITV do, Granada,
Yeah.
and watch that, so that I know what the hell's going to come up on the programme.
I see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, have a good time.
Right, thank you.
And you've got a letter, just ignore it.
Right.
Ta-da!
Bye.
Great. Do you want to come to our party, she said. It's at 5:30. Full stop, nothing else. How do, Elsie?
Oh, hello, Mr. Beswick. You had a lady on last night that said that I think she was bothered with her nerves, and you said you didn't think that ECT was done on a outpatient's basis.
I said I didn't think so, yes,
No,
but I was certain that someone was going to come on and tell me it was.
Actually, it is done in the Blackpool and Fowle group, but I don't know about any other hospitals. I don't know about Preston and Chorley, but Blackpool and Fowle group still operate on that system.
Right, well, thank you very much for that information. I'm glad somebody's told me, because I'd never heard of it being doing
yes,
on outpatient.
Western Park do it, and Blackpool, Victoria, but I don't know of any. That's in Blackpool and Fowle group.
OK, Elsie, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ta-ra now.
Bye.
I'll do, Trish.
Hello, Mr. Beswick. I wonder if you can give me some advice, please.
We'll have to wait and see.
Why does poo smell?
So that you don't eat it.
Shop fronts, tiled stall risers, side pillars, display layouts.
How do, Stu?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
I'm wondering if you can give us a bit of advice.
I dread to think. Go on.
Well, I've recently moved into a flat, last December actually, and about 2 weeks after I had the phone fitted, I received a letter saying that if I didn't pay a certain amount, they'd cut me off any second. And I'm wondering if there's anything I can do.
What do you mean, any second?
Right now.
Thank you. I'll do, Karen.
Hello, Alan. I'm just ringing you. I've phoned you before. I'm a qualified nurse. I've heard a story this week that's worried me a bit. I don't know if you're aware of it when you go to your own GP, about receptionists writing prescriptions. Actually, it's a friend of mine whose husband's, is quite ill, and the medicine that he receives is life-saving medicine. And when she got it home, she realised that it was different. So she phoned the pharmacist up, who checked it through, and apparently it had been wrote out by a receptionist, and it was wrote out completely wrong.
I'm afraid, Karen, that it is an all too frequent practice that receptionists write out repeat prescriptions for people. And the doctor is responsible, at the end of the day. He's the guy whose signature's on the bottom, or the woman whose signature's on the bottom. But pressure of work forces them to take these shortcuts.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, it is disgraceful. It ought to be made illegal if it isn't already. And people should be dismissed for doing it. And that doesn't just include the receptionist, who often is only doing what she or he is told.
Yeah.
But the doctor should be struck off also.
Yeah. I think it's, like you, I'm in psychiatry. I think that's where we get a lot of problems from. We have people that are hooked on Valium and Librium, one thing and another. And
Well, I don't think it's totally fair to blame the repeat prescription for people's hook to Valium, Librium and the like. They got onto it in the first place because of a particular need. And it isn't just the repeat prescription process that keeps them there. It's the inadequacy within the person, and I don't mean that in an offensive way.
No.
But equally, receptionists should not be allowed and should never be permitted, and in fact, disciplinary action should be taken to prevent receptionists writing prescriptions.
Because we're not allowed, always nurses. I mean, we can't even touch the cards. It's just not allowed.
That's right, the prescription card you're not allowed to do. Anyway, Karen, it's a disgraceful practice. Thanks for telling us. Ta-ra!
Red Rose Radio.
The 11 o'clock news, this is Alan King. From dawn tomorrow, Britain's policemen will be seen at Heathrow Airport armed with machine guns and wearing bulletproof armour. They'll move into the departure and arrival lounges for what is likely to become a routine duty, guarding passengers against terrorist attack. The massacres at Rome and Vienna airports have prompted the decision to send in marksmen. Home Secretary Douglas Hurd says it's a sad day for Britain, but it had to come.
I was advised and accepted the advice that in the wake of recent terrorist attacks at international airports, this was a necessary precaution. It's a decision for the moment. That's to say, it's not a decision which will necessarily last forever. It's a decision for Heathrow, and it's a decision which will be kept under continuous review.
Washington's tonight attempting to back up President Reagan's call for an international trade war against Colonel Gaddafi with a list of alleged Libyan-inspired terrorist attacks. American officials are admitting that there's no direct evidence linking Libya with the shootings at Rome and Vienna airports, which left 18 dead. But as American ambassadors appear to be failing in their bid to win European support for sanctions, the Democratic leader of the House of Representatives, Jim Wright, revealed details of an attack aimed at the heart of U.S. government.
A man entered the United States House of Representatives gallery and was prepared to explode explode himself and send shards of glass that would have been very destructive, killing a lot of people.
Social workers in the North London borough where 4-year-old Jasmine Beckford was battered to death are refusing to look after children at risk. They've been angered by scathing criticism of their work from the inquiry team which examined their role in the Jasmine case. But their union's refusing to say how many social workers are boycotting child abuse cases, and Brent Council says the children are still being cared for. Eleanor Curti reports.
It's a bizarre situation with neither management or union prepared to give anything away. At stake is the care of 140 children on Brent's register of children at risk. The union NALGO spent 5 hours in talks with social services chiefs today. Each side refused to comment afterwards, and they're due to meet again tomorrow. It's thought the talks centre around changes in training for social workers recommended by the independent inquiry into Jasmine's death.
A special new police squad has been formed to track down animal liberation extremists. The squad is to be led by Detective Chief Superintendent David Little of Scotland Yard's C11 Intelligence Branch. The announcement to set up the unit comes on the day that incendiary devices were planted at the homes of 3 scientists involved in animal experiments. Kay Oliver reports.
In one blast, police set off a device placed under Dr. Brian Meldrum's car at his home in Dulwich, South London. Last year, Dr. Meldrum headed a team using baboons for research into epilepsy at the Institute of Psychiatry, where Dr. Robin Murray is dean.
My colleagues here are astonished, first of all, and outraged and even a little frightened, I think, as to what's going to happen next time.
In another controlled explosion, a butane gas cylinder was ignited under a car in Sussex, and a third device was set off at the home of a scientist in Staffordshire. Earlier, animal rights groups had phoned news organisations to say they'd planted the bombs.
Independent Radio News.
How do those people who claim to be in favour of animal rights reject the rights of the human being, which is, of course, an animal? How can they possibly justify terrorism? Ever?
Red Bull Stereo.
I'll do, Peter.
It's Captain Scarlet here. I'd like to complain about the way you treated my mate Superman before.
Tough. I'll do, Paul.
Hello, Alan. I'd just like to clarify this about the king being, dying and the queen being crowned. I'd just like to say, I don't know when the queen was crowned, but I do know that the king is living in digs round from us with Lord Lucan.
Well, that's very kind of you to tell us, Paul.
Also, Alan, about that woman last night who wouldn't let you get a word in. You know, one of the last callers about...
Oh, the divvy, yes.
Yeah, about Maggie Thatcher. She is right about one thing.
What's that?
About Maggie Thatcher is next to Churchill. Well, she should be, anyway.
Thank you, Paul. Ta-ra. Another Paul.
Hey, do all.
Too young. I'll do Rupert.
There's a little bear like you've never seen before, who's a lots of fun.
That's copyright. Get off. Write your own songs. I'll do Neil.
Hi, it's me again. I've got a lot more to say about that sport you're going on about. Right, I'd like to say we should spend our money on it because I said so, and also...
Who's we?
Alright, me.
Right, well, you spend your money on it, and then you'll be happy. I'll do Brian.
Hello, Alan.
Too young. I'll do Paula. Is Paula going to speak to us? No, she's not. Never mind, we shall talk to David instead.
I'll do Alan.
Yes?
If you turn the grill down, it'll stop a packy drowning.
I'll do Nick.
Alan, it's Mick.
Yeah, okay, Mick.
Well, I've got a problem because my wife, she's an alcoholic, and she won't go to Alcoholics Anonymous, you see. I'm threatened to leave her, you see. I don't know what I can do to make her go.
To be perfectly frank, Mick, got your name right eventually. To be perfectly frank, there's no point making her go. It won't work. Unless... I'll do Pete.
Hello?
Yep.
I was listening to your programme last night.
Good.
Yeah, and I heard you talking about soldiers doing nothing.
Go on.
And I'm talking from experience, we don't do nothing. We train for war.
Go on, tell me what you did to train for war.
Well, the day starts at about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Liar.
Well, 7 o'clock, okay, I was with Jeffrey.
We've established you're a liar. It's a waste of time talking to you. How do, Jeffrey?
Hello, Alan.
What do you want?
I want to talk about drug abuse, please.
Go on.
Well, this piece of cocaine came up to me and called me a
How do, John?
Hello, Alan.
Well, what do you want?
I'd like to talk about an incident which happened in school earlier this year during the strike.
Earlier this year?
Yeah.
Earlier this year? It's only the 9th of January.
Yeah, an incident which happened earlier this year.
They only went back to school?
Last year, Alan.
I see.
Not getting used to the new year.
I see. Right. Happened last year.
It was what the teachers said, actually. I was using the computer, doing part of my exam course, and one of the teachers said...
How do, David?
Yeah, hello. I'd like to know what the legal rights are for squatting, if you could tell me.
It's very complicated. Very complicated indeed.
Yeah, well, what's happened? I've moved down from Doncaster. I was in a place, I've been kicked out, then I went into another house with my wife, and she's pregnant, and the police have been up tonight and said I've got to get out or they arrest me, but somebody else has told me that nobody can arrest you.
I would suggest that you go to your Citizens Advice Bureau and discuss it with them, because it's far too complicated to deal with on the radio.
Yeah, alright.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
But do so. Please go and find out, because it's a very complicated process.
Yeah.
All right?
Right, thanks.
Ta-ra. How do, Andrew?
How do, Alan? I'm thinking of, I'm in the process of filling in a form up for a job as a waiter. Now, it comes on down as previous experience, and I've got none, but I'm desperate for the job, and I can do the job, and do you think I should sort of fill in a bit of bull on the form?
If you do, you will then have obtained that job under false pretences, and should they ever find out, they will have the right to dismiss you.
Yeah, but as long as I can do it, that's the main thing, isn't it?
That will be the main thing at first.
Yeah. So what do you reckon, Alan?
I can never advocate telling lies.
So you never tell a lie, Alan?
I didn't say that. I said I can't advocate it.
Yeah, okay.
All right?
All right, thanks, Alan.
Cheers.
See you, mate.
I'll do, Peter.
Yeah, I know I can get that microwave out.
Go on.
Just push it through the cat flap.
We don't have a cat flap in the building here.
No, we should have a...
Well, we should have, yes. Well, we're not talking of cat flaps, as it happens. How do, John? John appears to be dumb, probably in more ways than one. How do to somebody... Oh, Waz. We don't talk to people called Waz. If you've got a Christian name, you might like to ring us back. We don't really care whether you do or not, but if you do, use your own name. Hello, Peter.
How do, Alan?
Too young. How do, Walter?
All right, Alan. I'd like to talk about the attempted bomb attack on Dr. Brian Meldrum. You know, the guy involved in introducing epilepsy in monkeys.
Go on.
I think it's an absolute disgrace that the bomb didn't go off in his face, basically.
How do you justify injuring a human being?
Simple, by going out on Saturday morning and beating up the Holcomb Hunt this Saturday.
Red Rose Radio.
Andy, you're next, providing you're not a cretin like Walter.
Lord Benson Boothroyd's Silly Sale Day this Saturday.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Alan. I'd like to talk to you about the pathetic coverage in the media about all the starving in Africa. I think it's pathetic. Like, you see on the cover of a well-known newspaper today, like, a certain top model has bust up with a boyfriend and a man has been cooking his dog. Well, that's nothing really compared to the thousands that are dying in Ethiopia.
Excuse me, Paul. How come you're aware of the tragedy of Ethiopia? Where did you get the information from?
Well, through the television news.
The television? And is the television part of the media?
Yeah, but I was talking specifically, I'm sorry about this, but about more specifically newspapers.
You're talking about newspapers. You said the media, which is a general term.
I'm sorry about that.
Well, newspapers also have covered it to the nth degree. Do you expect them to denote the front page of their newspaper every single day to covering yet another story from Ethiopia that is identical to the one previous?
But I don't like I understand what you're saying. Like, I mean, it gets very boring after a while. I agree.
I'm not bothered about the boredom of it. The job of a newspaper is to inform. I do accept that the tabloids fail miserably in that task, but the job of a newspaper is to inform. Once it has told you, there is little point in telling you again until there is something new to say.
But there is something new to say. I mean, this year...
What is new to say today that couldn't have been said or hasn't already been said?
Well, it was announced today, wasn't it, that the Sudanese people are expected to lose over 5 million of their population due to famine?
That hasn't only been announced today. That information has been available for some considerable time.
It's only been brought to the public attention today, really.
How was it brought to the public attention today?
Through the television news, but I'm not criticising them. I think
let me tell you something that happens in a newsroom, be it a newspaper, a radio, or a television. When there is nothing else to say on a story, they drop it. And then when they've run out of stories, or it's what's known as a slow news day, they then look back and say, well, that story we had last week, is there any way we can top it up? Is there anything we can do to add to it? Now, the BBC, with regard to the Ethiopian tragedy, or the Central African tragedy, have scored a lot of brownie points for their coverage of that. And they're not going to let it die. They're not going to let the story fade away, because it reminds everybody that they broke the story. It reminds everybody that all this money that's been raised initially came as a result of Michael Burt's report. And they cover it merely to inform, but also to pat themselves on the back. Don't expect every other media, every other branch of the media, to run kowtowing behind them. The reality is that the story in Ethiopia isn't going to change very quickly.
Okay, Al. Okay, thanks.
Okay,
bye.
Cheers. How do Mike?
Hiya, I'd like to talk about a subject which hasn't been talked about before, and it's been in the papers for the past few days.
Let us hear it.
Well, it's a story of the ever-growing population of back passages.
How do Philip?
Right, Alan.
Yeah?
I'm ringing up about these cat flaps.
We're finished talking about cat flaps, Philip. How do Eddie? Eddie's not there. On line 2, we have Alan.
Hello?
Hello?
I'm ringing up about the local snowfalls and what the gritters should do.
What should they do?
Grit the bloody roads.
Well, a lot of the roads are gritted.
Yes, well, not before all the cars get out.
Where do you live?
New Brighton.
New Brighton?
Yep.
Then you should address your complaint to the local authority in your area, because in Lancashire, our roads are well gritted, thank you very much.
Well, we had about 2 tons of snow.
2 tons? Is that all? That isn't a lot of snow unless it falls on 1 square foot.
Well, it fell on my bloody house.
Well, 2 ton on your house?
Yep.
Do you expect them to grit your roof?
Nope.
I see. Well, if the snow fell on your house, why are you bothered about the road? Presumably none fell on the road.
Well, I think they should send aeroplanes out with gritting
Aeroplanes?
on them.
How very sensible. Where will these aeroplanes take off from?
Well, they should, flying boats.
Flying boats. Where will these flying boats take off from?
The pier.
The pier. How will they get the salt to the pier?
Armpit Alley.
I'm sorry?
Armpit Alley.
Armpit
Alley.
I don't understand what you're saying now. I can't speak New Brighton.
Crossbury Street.
I still don't know what you're talking about. You're obviously a prat.
Armpit Alley.
You are a prat. How do Nigel?
Hello, Alan. You know, yesterday there was a few people on and he was commenting about the Queen's coronation and what date it was.
Indeed.
Well, I've used common logic and simple maths to work out that it wasn't in 1953. Now, can I go through it step by step? It won't take long, and can you validate each point, please? If you can.
Well, I don't know whether I'm able to.
Yeah.
My knowledge of history is extremely limited.
Was the Queen crowned? Is that ceremony called the coronation?
No.
Aye?
Is that a question?
Yeah. Is that the coronation? Well,
yes.
Yeah. Now, a 25-year jubilee, right, you know, a silver jubilee takes place every 25 years, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, the celebration of the Queen's Silver Jubilee took place in 1977, yeah?
Yes.
Now, if I take 25 off that, I get 1952, am I right?
Yes.
So, therefore, the Queen's coronation, therefore the Queen was crowned in 1952, not 1953.
No. The Jubilee wasn't a celebration of 25 years since the coronation, but 25 years of her rule. And her rule started on the date of her father's death.
Oh, I see.
As he expires his last breath as king, she breathes in her next breath as queen.
Oh, I'm with you. I see.
Hence the 25 years. So your mathematics were of no use to us at all, Nigel.
Mathematics were right. It was the logic and the...
It was the logic. Indeed, the logic that was wrong. The bit that you supplied.
Yeah. One more question, Alan. Would you say that for coming out with a subject like that, I'm a complete moron?
Not a complete one, but you're working towards it.
Thank you, Alan.
Ta-ra. How do, Stanley? Are you about to speak to us, Stanley? Are you going to get the honour of a conversation with you, are we? Apparently not. Never mind. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello, Alan. According to Collins' English Dictionary, the word cretin is a deformed idiot. Are you suggesting that besides being idiots, they're also deformed?
According to the Collins English Dictionary, no, I'm not. The Collins English Dictionary is not a, what should we say, acceptable dictionary. The authority of the English language is the Oxford English Dictionary, full version. And the full version includes two meanings. The first meaning is the one you have just described, and it actually goes into it rather more thoroughly than your cheap little Collins. And it goes on to explain that the deformity, in order for the person to be regarded as a cretin, the deformity has to be as a result of a hereditary problem with the thyroid gland, to be specific. However, there is an informal use of the word. Many words have a formal and an informal use. For example, if you call somebody a bastard, you rarely mean that they are an illegitimate child, although that is the formal meaning of that word. The informal meaning is they're a nasty bit of work.
Yeah.
The informal meaning of cretin is someone who is stupid, and it suits an awful lot of our callers.
Yeah. Another thing, you know how you cut, if somebody has nothing constructive to say, you cut them off?
Indeed.
Well, you cut them off so much that there must be a lot of eunuchs in Lancashire.
Indeed, there may well be.
Right, ta-ra.
Ta-ra. How do, Jonathan?
Hello, Alan. Are you okay?
Yes. How do, Andy?
Hello there. You cut me off before. I was wondering, you said earlier on your shows that you were up in Newcastle for quite some time. Was it about 8 months, I think you said? Could you tell me what you were doing up there? Because I'm a student up there, and I was quite interested to see what you were...
I was doing the programme that Alan Roberts now does.
You lost me. Was it Metro Radio?
That's Metro Radio.
Was it a similar sort of phone-in where you...
Very similar.
Was it?
Yes.
Did you do clubs up there as well?
No.
Not at all?
Not. I did the occasional one. I didn't do many because I was living in a hotel and I still had a house in Lancashire. So at weekends I used to come home, and of course in the evenings, I was on the radio.
See, that'd be hectic.
Life can be hectic.
Yeah, it is. Do you like it up there? It's a smashing place, I think.
I enjoyed it immensely.
The people are very, very helpful indeed. I was wondering what, you said you were up that doing that show. And did you live in the area apart from the hotel, or is it just...
No, I only lived in the Royal Station Hotel for the whole 8 months I was there, because I knew I wasn't staying. I knew I was coming here.
Ah, smashing.
Well, I didn't know immediately, but I knew fairly soon after starting that I was coming here.
What was it like at the weekend? You went up on Sunday, didn't you?
I was going to go up on Sunday. I didn't actually... eventually, better judgment prevailed, and I didn't go.
Oh well.
Because they were advising people not to cross from Carlisle, and they were also advising people not to drive by Durham. And those are the two routes. You've got to pass one of them, so I didn't bother.
Class C. Okay, well, just one other thing. At the moment, I'm getting to the end of my course now, and I'm applying for jobs. I'd just like to give some advice to everybody out there that when you sign there's a clause at the end of some of the application forms, and it's a sanity clause. I'd just like to tell everybody that there's no such person. It's your dad. All right. Smashing show.
Only people that have applied for jobs recently will understand that one. How do, Anne?
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
I've had a bit of a problem lately, and I just wondered whether you can help with it.
We shall try.
It's just that I wasn't selling my car. It was a next-door neighbour that had it in the paper, and somebody came up to my house to inquire about a car. And my son actually said that I was thinking of selling my car. Anyway, he said it wasn't us that was advertising, and he went a few doors next door but one, and he didn't buy the car. A few days later, the chap came back to our house and asked, was I prepared to sell my car? And I said, well, I was thinking about it. He got a few people to have it, look it over, and he bought it. About 3 weeks later, he came back to say that it was all kinds of faults with the car, that he wanted the money back. Would you say I'd have any, what would I do about it?
In simple terms, Anne, tell him to push off.
Would you?
Yeah, just say...
Well, he said
tough.
there's all kinds of... I didn't
tell
really
him, tell
try
him
to
tough.
sell him the car.
Just say, sorry, I'm doing nothing.
Would you?
Sling your hook.
Is that...
Get off my premises.
Legally, well, am I right to say
He
that?
can then sue you.
Yeah.
And when he sues you, if he does, and if he's got any sense at all, he won't. But when he sues you, if he does, go to court and say exactly what you've just told me.
And you
He
said-
made an offer for the car, he examined the car,
Yeah.
he took it away.
He did.
When I had it, there was nothing wrong with it.
Well, there wasn't.
So just say, sorry, he bought it, he can have it.
Oh, thanks very much.
Spend the money.
Yeah.
All right, love.
Never mind. Thanks.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
I'll do John. Too young. Ring me back when you're 16. I'll do Betty.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Is that Alan?
Yes.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, Betty.
Hello. I'm just like to ask you, something about, well, it's a pair of trainees, actually, my son paid for, and they were an expensive pair, actually, they were £48, and he only had them a week, and, he didn't use them for running sort of thing, he just wore them, normal, and when he took them back to the shop, they just refused to change them or, well, they rather, they were...
Well, Betty, should we establish, first of all, what was wrong with them that he wanted to take them back?
Yeah, well, the rubber, the rubber round them started coming away.
The sole,
Yes,
where it meets the upper.
yes.
And he took them back to the shop, and the shop said what?
They turned round and said, that, they turned round and said to him that, they're not doing anything about them because they're used for running and not walking. Well, I mean, for running, they'd get more wear out of them, wouldn't they?
Well, of course they'd get more wear out of them.
That's what I mean. So
But all I can suggest that your son does is tells the shop that if they don't replace them immediately, he'll sue them.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, hang on, Alan. What? They wouldn't change them, anything. My son just said,
Yes, well, you've already told me that.
Yeah.
And that is why I said what you do is you write to them and tell them that if they don't replace them or refund the money, you will take them to the county court.
Oh, right, yeah.
And if they don't replace them after that, take them to the county court and sue them.
Oh, okay, Alan.
All right?
Thanks very much indeed.
I'll do John.
Good evening, Alan. Did you watch Coronation Street this week any time?
Both times.
Did you notice anything different on it this week?
We saw not Annie, I can never get that out of my mind. We saw the backyard of the Rovers Return for the first time on Monday.
Yeah, well, it didn't show that inside the Rovers Return, did it?
Probably not.
And it was serious. Well, I think it's one of the first series I've never seen, without showing the Rovers.
Oh, it's not the first.
I'm saying it's not the first, but it's probably once every blue moon, isn't it?
Well, it is once every blue moon. It was the very first time we'd shown the backyard of the rover's return. It may well be that they're decorating it. It may well be that there's a problem in there, I don't know, or was at the time when they were doing the work. It might also be that they wanted to just have a bit of outside stuff.
Yeah.
Because they do that. About once a month they go outside, and that's a good idea.
Yeah. What do you think about this Ken and Mike Baldwin?
What do you think?
Oh, well, I think there's going to be a good bust-up between them.
And what do you think of the development this evening, where Deirdre went along and revealed Ken's anguish and discovered that Mike Baldwin is in love with Susan?
Well, I think Ken will find out she's been round.
Well, of course he will. She'll tell him. And he'll do what, do you think?
Oh, well, sue him, have a bust-up.
There's going to be trouble. Eventually Susan is going to find out. That'll be the intriguing bit. What's she going to think?
Oh, well.
But what do you think about Ken? Because they're actually displaying a very real problem, aren't they? And that is parents that don't understand that their children are now adults. And that's one of the problems facing parents and indeed facing children.
Yeah.
The time when the child becomes an adult, and you've got to say to them, haven't you, rather like the Grants say in Brookside, look, we don't think you're right. We don't think what you're doing is right at all. But we're on your side.
Yeah, but like if they come of age and that, I think they're allowed to plead themselves, only to a certain extent, because if they're living under the father's roof, that's different.
I don't know that it is different, is it? Surely a child, for example, Susan, I realise it is only theatre, but Susan isn't taking this Baldwin guy home. She's not actually bringing anything to the house that is unacceptable in the home.
Yeah.
All the things she's doing that her father disagrees with are being done outside, and surely, even though she is under his jurisdiction whilst under his roof, she has the right to do with her life outside of that home whatever she wishes.
Yeah.
Doesn't she?
Oh, yeah, certainly. Well, when you think, because he's got the hate against Mike Baldwin, he probably feels it.
Of course he does. That's because he's a dopey little wimp.
Okay, right.
I'm on Mike Baldwin's side, me. Primarily because I've met Johnny Briggs and he's a great guy. And he did a deal with Jaguar, and anyone on Coronation Street that can wangle a deal with Jaguar has got to be good.
Okay.
Cheers, John. Ta-ra. It's funny how we make our minds up, but it's true that. I met Johnny Briggs, he opened something and I was there doing it as well. And he's a smashing bloke. He's the guy that plays Mike Baldwin. He's a smashing fella. And I've never met Ken Baldwin, and I suppose he's a smashing fella as well, but I've never met him, so I'm on Mike Baldwin's side.
Find out about buying a property in sunny Spain with London Spanish Development.
Don't forget the writing competition this week. You're running out of time if you want to take part, because your entries have got to be with us by first post on Saturday morning. The prize is the top 3 albums of the day being Saturday, and a free go at the jackpot on Sunday's It's Your Turn. And the January jackpot prize is a weekend for 2 in Paris in the spring, travelling from Manchester with Airlink Express. That's worth about 280 quid. You stay in Paris in a 3-star hotel and have yourselves a bit of a ball. If you want to take part, simply answer that question. On Channel 4 Television's Hill Street Blues, which detective bites people? Answers on a postcard, sealed down envelope, or in a letter to me, Allan Beswick, Red Rose Radio, P.O. Box 301, Preston, PR 11YE. Back to the lines. If you want to join us, the number's Preston 561,000. How do Patricia?
Hello, Alan. I'd just like to say well done to Sam. He deserves it. Thank you.
How do Yvonne?
Hello, Alan.
Yep.
Yeah, we've just been discussing the Social Security now to save them a lot of money. If they give everybody the counter, over-the-counter, the gyros, it'll save a lot on all stamps and postage and missing gyros and stolen gyros and things like that.
It would, in theory. Unfortunately, it takes longer to pay a gyro over the counter than it does to put it in an envelope and send it off. Now, if they do decide to pay everybody over the counter, they've then got to have enough people and enough counters to let everybody get their gyro over the counter. And that takes time.
Because, like, we do it every fortnight, we sign on, and, well, it's every week, there's weekly and fortnight signers, and, you know, like, it seems to us it's saving a lot of trouble, because where we live, there's, it's just an house with one letterbox for 4 bed sets, and, like, our gyros never go missing, so they're saving on all that money, where they're writing out another and paying somebody twice if they don't get the person that's cashed it and all that.
Well, yes, but the point I'm trying to make to you, Yvonne, is when you go to sign on, if you then had to get your gyro as well, that it would be a long process. Those gyros would have to be kept somewhere, they would have to be able to go and get them from that place, then bring it back to the counter, give it to you, get your signature for it, you'd check it all out, disputes would arise on site, it would take an awful lot longer, they would require more people, and those extra people would cost more than the administrative cost of sending them via postage.
Oh, I see.
They've already thought it out, I assure you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Ta-ra. I'll do Patricia.
I just called to say I love you. Mwah, mwah. I love you, Alan.
Very understandable. Hello, George.
Hello, Alan. I'd just like to a little bit of advice, really. What it is, a few months ago, I was taxi driving, and I saw a lad getting beaten up with a police officer. Now, I went to court to give evidence.
I don't want to sound pedantic, George. Do you mean beaten up by a police officer?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. And the lad asked me then if I would give evidence against this police officer, and I did so. I went to court and gave evidence against him, and ever since, you know, they keep harassing me, like, you know, and pulling me up and checking my car boot and things like that. I was just wondering if I could, if there was anything I could do about it.
Yes. Complain to the Chief Constable.
And then what will he do, like?
He will have words with the officers concerned.
Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah. What else do you want to do?
No, I just wanted to know, you know.
Well, that's what you do. Write to the Chief Constable and tell him that you were being harassed by the police. And you're being harassed in that you were stopped on, and give a list of the occasions.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay,
and tell him it's an unreasonable amount.
Right, then. Okay,
Cheers.
Alan, thanks.
Ta-ra. I'll do Jill. Is it Jill, or is it Joan?
Joe.
Joe.
Joe. Hello, Alan.
Not even close, was I? Go on,
Not
Joe.
far. I'd like to talk about computer software piracy, if I may.
Go on.
I don't think the punishment or fines which are actually being, when the pirates are caught, are enough to deter them from sort of going out and copying another program all over again. I think there should be heavier fines.
What kind of fines do they get?
Well, it's usually a sort of about a £500 fine or something like that. And I don't think these are heavy enough to deter the software pirates.
How much would you recommend?
Well, about £800 or £900, and then this money, I think, should pay the money into research in order to try and prevent piracy actually happening by using some sort of audio technique in order to prevent piracy. So that you could only once you tried to copy one, only the original cassette would actually work with the computer. If you tried to copy that onto another cassette.
And such research would be futile. They tried it all out with cassettes when they first started. The record companies, the music companies, were very concerned about home taping. And one of the things they did was they put a tone on the record, which you couldn't hear. But when it was put through a cassette recorder or a tape recorder, it created an audible harmonic. And that sound, which I think was a 1 kilocycle sound, was actually put on the tape with the record, so that the tape was useless.
Yeah.
unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, and people very quickly found ways of eliminating that harmonic. It's a fairly straightforward process.
Well, what happens?
So they abandoned it.
What happens to the money that actually they pay as a fine? Where does that go?
That goes into the public coffers.
Ah, I see, yeah. Well, do you not think the police could actually have some sort of form of actually...
Well, it's not really a police matter, is it?
Is it not?
No, not in the general sense of the word. The ordinary bobby in the street isn't involved in investigating computer software piracy.
I know, but it's actually causing companies to sort of lose sales, because at least, I mean, I think it's about...
Yes, it is causing companies to lose sales.
10 are made, aren't they?
But people have been fined millions of pounds for copying. I can remember a classic case over a pair of jeans that were copied. They were fined millions of pounds. They're still doing it. Maybe not those people, but the crime is still being committed.
Yeah, but if people could see that the police can actually catch them, then they would be scared.
Well, that's the great difficulty, isn't it? It's very, very difficult indeed to catch piracy.
Most of it actually goes on in sort of on small scale. I know there's large scale.
Well, you're wrong, actually. Most of it, perhaps in terms of actual nicking, goes on in small scale.
Yeah.
But the people they need to get are the people that actually steal, by default, millions of pounds worth of copyright every year. The counterfeit goods on shop stalls throughout Britain are unbelievably massive. Massive. I bought a pair of jeans the other day, and I paid the going rate for them. I didn't even get them cheap, and I'm convinced that they're counterfeit.
Yeah, but I'm sure they could think of some way of actually preventing, so that you could only get one original cassette.
Well, Joe, they've been trying for many years, and...
I'm sure if they carried on trying, if they put the fine money was paid into more research...
Well, I don't think £500 or £800  2 or 3 times a week is going to make all that difference.
Well,
the cost of return...
If you could catch more of them and fine them, then I'm sure they'd end up with quite a lot more.
Well, we're talking about research for such things is literally hundreds of millions of pounds. So I really don't think it's worth it. Otherwise, they'd be doing it. Anyway, it's an interesting thought, Joe. Cheers.
Right,
Ta-ra.
thanks, bye.
How do Sheila?
Hello,
Hello?
it's Sheila here.
Hello, Sheila.
My problem is, I talked my husband actually into buying a timeshare holiday for the family. And we bought it for, I think it was £2,500, and it was going to be for life. We went to, it was actually, I won't give any names, but the place was Almeria.